Yeah,
Okay.
Aerass, you can share. Do you have something to share? Do you want to show a clip?
No, miss, I just have a PowerPoint presentation.
And which film or drama is it?
It's the 2019 Bollywood film Gully Boy.
Gully Boy. Okay. Uh, did you not select a scene for discussion?
Miss, there are particular instances. Yes, there are a couple of scenes that I'm discussing, but I didn't feel the need of I have some images that I thought were very pertinent, so I've included them in the presentation.
Okay, all
And
right.
I want to talk about the posters and the cover of the CD and all of that.
Okay, all right. Okay, you can share. I think I already gave you the right to share.
So this is the question that I chose for my midterm was to theoretically discuss the 2019 film. It could be from any film industry, um, and I was supposed to pick one gender to analyze. Um, so the reason why I picked Gully Boy was because it was endorsed as this really progressive, sort of liberal, very sort of revolutionary film, and which it was to a great extent. But I felt like that made it that much more important for me to shed light on how parts of it were not very progressive and were actually quite the opposite. So my choice of gender was the female gender. Uh, uh, it it's like it's not the main character. Um, I don't know how to categorize this particular character. It's actually something that's been debated on quite a lot. Um, this role was essayed by the actress Alia Bhatt. Her name is Safina Ferdowsi. Um, so as you can see over here, this is the front cover of the film, um, and when you look at it for the first time, you get the feeling कि अच्छा this movie is going to revolve around two people, and that there are two protagonists to this or two main characters to this, and that they both have like an equal role to play in the film, or at least both of them have a very significant role to play. However, that's not the case. Alia Bhatt is like her narrative in the film does not even have like an impact. It's not even like remotely connected to the main narrative of the film, and I'll get into that later on. But just to comment on this, okay, I feel like we're in a time period where everyone is wanting to appeal to liberal audiences. We want to be on the right side of history, and I think we're kind of starting to exploit that a little bit. And the fact that this movie was directed and produced by a woman takes me back to Wonder Woman and the success that it did globally, and it was like hailed as this female-led, female-directed movie, feminist movie, and somehow that makes it you can't criticize it because women know what they're talking about when they're talking about feminism. But I believe sometimes like they don't necessarily, and that women are equally capable of exploiting and capitalizing and profiting off of a cause that impacts them so strongly. And um, this is not a poster. This is not this wasn't the movie cover. This was just a picture that I found in, it's like one of the, I think किसी music video का ये था scene में. तो this I believe, if it wanted to like add another character to the poster, it should have been this guy, because he truly was one of the like if he was a leading character, he has got to be the um, second to him. I don't know why he was left out of all the major posters and the promotional stuff. Just didn't make sense to me. So it feels as though लड़की को डाल दो हिजाब पे ना दो तो you'll be able to sell it to audiences these days, because that's the formula now. um, अब आइटम नंबर नहीं सेल होगा, अब इस तरह की चीज़ें सेल हो जाएंगी. तो I feel like it all comes down to that ultimately. Um, the awards again, the same thing. Alia had received the award for I think it was a Filmfare Award, which is one of the most prestigious awards in India, in the Indian film industry.
वॉल्यूम प्लीज जी.
Sorry.
आपकी आवाज बहुत कम हो गई एकदम जी.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes, it's
Okay.
much better. Yeah, आप आलिया भट्ट के बारे में कुछ कह रही थी.
Gigi. So she won an award in several awards actually, for not for a supporting lead or character role. She won it for the female lead. I mean, that's the title she was given, which was criticized by many, but nothing quite happened. She accepted the awards. And it's interesting to see how, such a minor role played by her. I mean, I go back to, how this is just plain exploitative. And just to give like a synopsis very quickly, is that the movie is about this young college student named Murad. He has big dreams. The movie is basically about his dreams, his life, his struggles. He wants to be an artist, he wants to be a rapper, he wants to express himself, um, and his struggle, and make something of himself creatively. However, he comes from humble background. He lives in a gully, and his parents are obviously conservative and they're very traditional, and they want him to just work very hard the way everybody does, in the way that everyone does, in the typical way that society expects you to, in order to be able to secure for himself a good um, white collar sort of job. um, that's what the movie is about. And then comes his girlfriend, Safina, who is this feisty, outspoken, um, jealous girl who is. Let me actually just move on to the next slide. So this is where I bring in the in literature. Uh, this is where I situate, my analysis in the overall framework. Okay, I feel like yes, this movie does in ways challenge stereotypes, and for that it should be commended. But I think in certain ways what it's doing is that it's just like very consciously, like it's playing a game. It's like that difference between benevolent and hostile sexism, where just very briefly, benevolent sexism is thought of as a set of attitudes toward women that categorize them as fair, innocent, caring, pure, fragile, motherly, sisterly, and stuff like that, which would on the surface seem like it's not a problem. In fact, you're being respected, you're being validated, you're being taken care of, they're holding the door for you, women first, all of that. But actually that's just seemingly positive characteristics and attitudes. uh, it's just very if you think about it, if you look at it carefully, it's very dangerous and damaging to women's rights, um, and their agency in society, as opposed to hostile sexism, which is very openly misogynistic. It's violent. It labels women as very manipulative and angry, and all of those witch-like labels that women have been given since centuries. So I think what this film does is that it works on the benevolent sexism thing, um, in that today the shape it takes or the form it takes is sorry, let me shut off the okay. So an oppressed yet empowered young angry feminist. So that's the formula now. It has no complexities to it. It has no layers to it. It's again either black or white, and there's no gray area to it. And it's almost like you see it everywhere now. You see it in Hollywood. You see it here. You see it you're even starting to see it in Pakistan now. So it's a bit uh, when you start to predict things, it tells you, okay, there's something wrong. Okay, this probably was this character was uh, not crafted with a lot of sincerity uh, and authenticity. There were certain agendas in mind. So even though she's like this feminist person, she's still jealous of other women. She's not a feminist person, well, let me clarify that, but she's shown to be like this feisty, angry, and she's breaking stereotypes, and she's not your typical, um, needy, dependent woman. But at the same time, she's still, the movie's still reinforcing all of those other, stereotypes that have been attached to women for so long, because she's still jealous of other women, that the same old narrative of pitting women against women. um, Here you can see there was this scene in which was very you know when you watch it, though, I don't know, it makes you it only disturbs you when you think about it deeply enough. But the first time you watch it, it makes you feel like, as if the movie is trying to force you to identify with what she's doing with her behavior. And then you realize, once you spend enough time uh, thinking about it, okay, this is actually wrong. This is not only is this violent and aggressive and just counterproductive, but this is also, you don't identify with this. This does not represent. This is precisely what patriarchy has been trying to achieve since like forever, to just create this fake narrative about how women, you know, have this innate, inherent jealousy inside them, and that it's not been created by a system, you know. So she is shown to be like this. She's angry, okay, but she's also like this sociopathic, mad kind of angry. She's not a revolutionary angry. She's not a serious minded, logical, rational kind of angry. She's this sociopathic angry, which is also very quirky and cute and lovable. So at the end of the day, your feminist has to be attractive in some way or the other. If she's not physically that, like, like appealing or sexy or whatever, she has to be quirky in some way. She has to be adorable, and she has to be um, adorably weird and those kind of things. So that was something that I thought was like, how are you subverting stereotypes, really? Um, and then there's this missing internal conflict. I understand, okay, many women would be able to identify with women who wear hijab, okay, that inner feeling of just wanting to, and a lot of us do that, okay, when we're uh, um, at least a lot of us feel the urge to, let loose in certain settings, and to be able to not wear the hijab where we don't identify with it, we don't agree with it, or we feel angry for it. And but you can't possibly like divorce that urge in you, or those feelings in you with, you can't detach that from, that complexity, that disturbance that you feel, when you do that, that discomfort that you feel, those, layers of feelings inside of you that women have, they spend a lot of years figuring it out. And this is where I bring in identity negotiation. And in this, I've in my essay, I've quoted Irving Goffman's presentation of self in everyday life, and then Gregory Stone's appearance and the self, in which they both talk about how um, Irving Goffman gives this example of how women, how people are basically acting it out, right? So in order to develop or construct a sense of self, or an identity for ourselves, we we are dependent on our social environment. Basically, that's the first and the foremost thing in how people perceive us. So he says that one of the most important things is, because he gives the example of a theater, so he says that what you wear, how you look, is like the costume of an actor, of a theater actor. That uh, the way the audience is going to perceive you depends very greatly on, and in real life, he says that it's been underestimated for years. So
आपका
you
वॉल्यूम ना कॉन्स्टेंटली ऊपर नीचे जा रहा है, तो प्लीज जी।
okay, let me.
हाँ, जब आप पास हो जाती हैं तो ऊंचा हो जाता है। आई थिंक यू आर प्रोबेबली मूविंग वाइल प्रेजेंटिंग ना, तो उसकी वजह से वो आपसे दूर हो जाता है। एनीवे सॉरी आई इंटरप्टेड। आप ये
No, no, it's, thank you for letting me know.
जी
I'll just, it's
जी।
in front. I'm going to try not to move. So he talks about how it's, you perform a certain kind of, a specific type of social performance, and you enact it in your everyday social exchange. Okay? And then he calls the way you dress, the way you look, the way you appear, like physically to the people around you, he calls that social props or cultural symbols, and he talks about how they are used to facilitate, the communication of our self image to other people. So he then, brings in the hijab, and he says that it's almost impossible to not draw intense social scrutiny. And especially in South Asia, you can't just deny the existence of it just by saying, "Acha, we are like Pakistan is an Islamic republic of, we're an Islamic state, and that India, maybe it's not a big deal or whatever." But it is, because there's so many different schools of thought here. A group of people is going to judge you because it's considered a patriarchal tool. Um, Another group of people is going to judge you because I mean, I remember my father, um, well, he was against the idea of hijab, but he wanted to enforce a chadar because he felt कि hijab क्या फजूल चीज होती है, like ये क्या modern सा एक चीज है, अजीब cartoon लगता है बंदा, मतलब these were his words. So you can't escape any of that, and the amount of impact that it has on you psychologically, emotionally, mentally, because you're subjected to it from all sorts of directions, and day in day out, inside the house, outside the house. So uh, to just pretend like she's having a blast, and that, I mean, she is, but to not even touch even remotely that side of her, the inner working, what's going on inside of her, to show as if it's perfectly, like normal for her to take off her hijab, uh, make out with her boyfriend, and do all these things. So I think it was a very one-dimensional portrayal of her character, which again was kind of, I go back to my first point, uh, when you create create a character that wears a hijab only because you want to sell the movie, so obviously you will be able to tell कि, you can tell कि there hasn't been any research that was done or anything. Alia Bhatt claimed in one of her interviews that the idea behind this character was to just normalize hijab in society, to pretend like, it's not even a part of her identity. Like, we don't want to comment politically on it in the movie. The whole idea is to just pretend like, yeah, she's just another girl and she's wearing hijab, just up. It's like another accessory. So I feel like that would be very typical of a reply from someone who has probably not ever worn any form of veil, or has never been made to live through a life like that. So yeah, I think I'll end on this. This is pretty much it. I, yeah.
All right, thank you. आई थिंक के प्रेजेंटेशन की कोई इमेज शेयर कर रहे रखें, so it would be easier for everyone to relate to. जी, comments? जहांगीर, Aerass, please share the presentation. कोई image उसकी जरा सामने रखिए. जी जहांगीर, comments?
No, ma'am, no comment.
काफी सारे हमने देखे ना, हमने we had a discussion on hijab. Did we have a discussion in this class on hijab?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Right. So, any comment, Dania?
No.
Why not? Beanish as well. कोई थॉट प्रोवोकिंग एलिमेंट नहीं नजर आया इस पूरी फिल्म में या in terms of presentation, because I think Aerass has raised very important points about the presentation and about this film. And did you say that she is not the protagonist, but she has a side role in the film?
Yes.
Okay, so is there another girl who is protagonist in the film?
No, there is no other girl. As I said, there's this boy who's
Okay, so
basically
so the
protagonist, and
the film revolves around him, and okay, because you did not give the summary of the film, and you did not discuss scenes in detail, so it was difficult at times to understand what was happening between two characters, right? A short summary normally helps in understanding the situation, like if you could have given it in 3-4 lines, 5 lines or so, uh, which would just tell what is happening between the male protagonist and female protagonist. You said the film revolves around this character, and Alia Bhatt does not have a significant role in the film. What's her
Yes, I did actually. I think maybe my voice wasn't clear, but I did talk about how the film revolves around this guy's dreams, and that Alia Bhatt is merely his girlfriend, and her narrative is not even wasn't even necessary or in any way significant to the overall,
So
plot of the movie. But I
that's
think
where.
that part I missed because my mic was probably not working.
No, it's okay. We are discussing to just clarify those things. So Alia Bhatt has an insignificant role. She appears like a benevolent or passive girl. But you also said that she is very loud and outspoken and jealous. So I would have thought that
Yes.
she is doing something in the film. So the girl that she has a fight with is just another this guy is interested in. Why are they fighting?
Yes,
Because
and she appears in the movie for.
you mentioned the fight, but I did not understand why they were fighting. Were they fighting over the boy?
There, y- they weren't exactly fighting over that's where it gets strange, because this other girl that Alia Bhatt is fighting with, she is not in any way involved with her boyfriend. She, I think, expressed a desire maybe to someone, and Alia Bhatt heard a rumor, and based on merely that, she just went ahead and just showed up in front of her and just started beating her up. So that was very uncalled for and very, violent and unnecessarily aggressive, and very, not representative of how women really are in real life.
Okay, so again, I am not sure what kind of rumor it was. Did the other girl say she was interested in her boyfriend?
Yes, Alia Bhatt heard that this other woman was interested in her boyfriend and that she might have been sending him flirty messages.
Okay. All right. So that becomes the cause of the fight between the two. Uh,
Yes, yes.
and where does the film resolve?
The film, well, we see that she ultimately finds a way. We're not shown how. We're not revealed कि उसके अंदर की क्या उसके अंदर दिमाग के अंदर क्या चल रहा है. बस out of the blue, towards the end of the film, when they're wrapping things up, we're shown that she just finally finds a way to reconcile her love and her jealousy for her boyfriend, and it's a happy ending. She's supportive of his career, and there's in the final scene, um, there's no, because since her role is just not very substantive at all. It's not like linked to the actual narrative of the movie at all. So in the final, I think 10 to 15 minutes of the film, it's all about Murad. And from what I remember, we don't even see her in the final few scenes.
Um, does she succeed in marrying Murad, you're saying? Aerass, does she marry Murad in the end? जी आप में से
Miss,
किस
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I was asking, where does the film resolve? Does she marry this guy in the end? You said it's a happy ending film. That means
I
that
think
she
my mic
marries.
stopped working along with my. Yes.
Yes, can you hear me?
No, it's a happy ending film. But that's yes, Miss, I can hear you now. I hope you can hear me. There's something wrong with the
Right. So
internet
it's a happy ending film means that
in my
she
area.
marries Murad in the end, does she?
No, so that's no, no, that's the thing now, right? Because the movie does not revolve in any way around her or her dynamic with Murad. That's just something that they added because they wanted to show a strong female character with a hijab. The movie ends in a happy tone because for Murad specifically, because that's who the whole story revolves around. He is able to achieve his dreams. He's able to do what he wants to do. He's up on the stage. He's singing. He's rapping, and that's how the movie ends. What we do see about Safina is that she is finally able to reconcile her love and her jealousy for Murad, but we're not like at all shown ke uske andar psychologically how she managed to do that. उसका जो एक internal conflict था, वो उसने किस तरह से उसको संभाला, and how did she finally manage to um, pacify all of those aggressive urges. So, but just out of the blue, we see that she's finally, supportive of Murad, and she's not jealous, and she's accepts, um, him for who he is and whatever. So, it's
What
a
is
happy ending for Murad.
Iras Sapne, you have used theory nicely, but I'm still trying to understand what was her internal conflict about?
Miss, that's what I felt was missing in the narrative, in that they did not felt it important to bring to shed light on her inner conflict. And that's where I bring in Irving Goffman, who says it's impossible to not feel that, to not experience an internal conflict when as a woman you've been, the hijab has been forced upon you, and you're this confident person with all these aspirations and everything, and you go out, you meet your boyfriend, or you go out and you party, and then you take off the hijab completely. So that inner sort of discomfort that a woman would experience, they haven't shown that at all.
Uh, is that missing factor actually reflecting on situation of Muslim girls? That it is difficult to exactly examining the conflict in them, because most of the times they are hiding what they are thinking, and they do not really discuss their inner feelings at all. So film actually connected this situation to the reality, because Muslim girls often do not express what they are feeling, and whether or not they were wearing abaya, they like to hide their feelings, which means if they develop feelings for someone, they will still not sure, they will not share their inner feelings or their love, and they can even deny that they are in love with someone because the norms do not allow them. I'm not saying
Yes,
it
but
will
that
always be the case, but it can be the case, because if film is purposefully not showing the inner conflict, there has to be an inner conflict, and you feel that the psychologist that you mentioned actually says that it is impossible not to have that conflict. So there got to be some conflict. You're saying that by watching the film once, you were not sure what conflict Safina had inside.
no, Miss, I just felt very disconnected from the character because there was no layer to her. It felt like they had just like जिस तरह आप बात कर रही हैं कि maybe they find it difficult to theorize their emotions, they find it difficult to express them. So maybe that's what the movie was trying to do. But
I am not saying, that viewers find it difficult. I'm saying characters have that difficulty, or characters like to deny. So denial is something else, and knowing is something else. So
yes,
I'm
but they
just
didn't even show the denial or whatever, anything. They could have shown anything. But it was such a one-dimensional character that it was very difficult to connect with it.
okay. So you think it was difficult for you to connect with it as a Muslim viewer yourself, or it was
Yes.
difficult for any person to connect with it?
I wouldn't make that claim because I guess we all have different experiences. But yes, I think I speak for myself.
Okay. Because if you look at this article, it says Zainab Hussain speaks on behalf of other participants, and she talks about self-conflict. And you also mentioned some real life experiences, uh, like where a family member says that you don't have to wear, for example, abaya kind of thing, but you
Yes.
can wear a chadar sort of thing. So whether abaya or chadar, the basic concept is conveyed, like you are covering yourself. Uh, Islam doesn't say that it has to be abaya. It just says cover your hair and cover uh, everything up to your fist. Like you can only show your hands or face, but you can't expose any other part of body. Right. So I was just trying to understand. I think theoretically you found very nice connections, very good connections. Uh, Only I just hope that in your midterm paper, was your midterm paper on the same topic?
Yes, miss. It was on the same
So I
topic.
just hope that you have described the fight scene in particular, in detail. Because I would like to understand why she's fighting with the other girl. I had to dig it out by talking to you, and you showed a couple of other images in which I think if it was the protagonist, her hand was up in the air or arm was in the air. Probably she was pointing to something aggressively or showing her anger. So it would be interesting to read some description of the situation, like exactly what is happening. Sometimes you can say it in one sentence. Sometimes you need more than one sentence to make your viewer or reader or listener understand. what exactly is happening. So I think theoretical connections were very nice. The theories that you mentioned, I really liked that you were digging into deeper side of the character, and you mentioned, certain kind of social psychopathic. I think that was the word you used. Uh,
Yes.
so I thought that was interesting because you were trying to deeply understand the behavior of the character, and that character reflects uh, on many women or many young girls who actually wear abaya. So that is where the film actually connects with reality, because I'm still not sure what you said, that you said an item girl would perhaps not sell and a baya would sell more easily. I still think that that commercial film tries to glamorizes women and women's bodies. So glamour actually sells in commercial film market, but definitely there is a market for all these other characters, and this is the beauty of digital age and increasing awareness that these other characters are actually taking space in film, in commercial film. I would say that uh, in past you would probably find some clips somewhere in some films that female protagonist is wearing burqa or abaya or that kind of thing, but that is a kind of very rare image, right?
Yes.
It has been there in film, but it was not uh, uh, as it was not used as the main prop in any case. And it looks like that in this film, this hijab sort of thing was used as the main prop, right?
Yes.
In past many films, you will see glimpses of it. It will appear for a few seconds, perhaps half a minute, uh, in a 2.5 hour or 3 hour long film. We call it 3 hours long film, even if they are shorter than 3 hours, right?
Right.
So I would say that it was appearing as a smaller prop in past films, where you would see that, for example, I think in Pakiza, and it was one of the super hit films of all times, and it is still very famous. You may have heard this song "Chalte Chalte," right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
in this film, you would see the female protagonist in abaya at one stage. I think she is hiding her face when the male protagonist takes her to Maulvi for nikah, right?
Right.
And Maulvi does ask her कि nikah kabul hai, and she, being a prostitute, runs away from there without saying कि nikah kabul hai, right? So this prop actually appears for a very short duration in some of the part films, but you do find it appearing occasionally. It sounds like this was one of the main props, because this is emphasized in case of Gully Boy, right? Or
Yes.
I can still understand that you are saying that Safina, it is not Safina's story, right? So that
Yes.
perhaps is a comment on women in abaya, that it's hardly your story. Film is, without saying so, film is making a comment like this. It's hardly Safina's story, because women who are passive, women who are in abaya, women who do not have a significant role in society, how can they be very, how can they appear with all clarity in mainstream cinema? So I think there is perhaps still a long way to go, because Safina is appearing in a certain style, and that style gets Alia Bhatt uh, the award, as you said. So definitely
Yes.
her role is appreciated. They perhaps do want that these women who perhaps appear insignificant uh, appear in commercial films. So I think that insignificance is very significant here, right? I feel that insignificance is significant because insignificance is very clear in the type of character that you have mentioned. You said it was criticized. Nobody understood why she received an award. I think it was probably the insignificance of the character that they wanted to bring to light, right? She appears
Yes.
insignificant, but she is there. And it's the ambiguity of the characters in the form she appears on screen. So ambiguity is about you would say the ambiguity is about perhaps all women who can relate to her because of the prop that many Muslim women use in daily life, and which means that nobody is sure what is behind that abaya, what is behind that behind those black eyes, right? I would say that I would I would say when I was studying, I myself was studying in UK back in 1993. You can understand that was 27 years ago, right? So one of my teachers, we were standing in classroom, and my white teacher, he was talking to myself and many other students in the classroom, and I think there were only two foreigners in that classroom. That was myself and a girl from Sweden, right? So the girl from Sweden was a white woman, and the rest of the students, 28 students, were British. You can say they were perhaps all white British in that classroom, and perhaps I was the only woman who wasn't white, uh, who had brown skin, right? And my teacher looking at me, he looked at me and he looked at this Swedish girl, and he said, "You can't see behind these black eyes. You can clearly see what is behind the eyes of this girl from Sweden because she had blue eyes." He said, "You can read blue eyes.
Right.
You cannot read black eyes." So knowing that I don't wear abaya and I have never worn abaya, and uh, I haven't, you can, if you have seen me in the university, this is the way I have always been like. But I'm saying that somebody who does not wear abaya may appear ambiguous to those who are not wearing same skin, who are not from the same culture. In India, I would say that Hindus and Muslims or Indian population kind of have same culture because they live in the same place. And culture is not just about your religion. Culture is a lot more than that, right? It's about your environment, your experience with the environment and social life, and you highlighted social life in your presentation, right? So I would
Yes.
say that despite all these things, there is a curtain between all those eyes in social life and a a woman wearing abaya, right? I would say that these two articles that I selected here were actually pointing to the situations where people feel this ambiguity, and women feel that they are creating a what you would call it, they are creating a wall, or they are protecting themselves from all those eyes, because some of these women actually said in this article that the abaya gives them freedom because they cannot be objectified. They felt that women who do not wear abaya can be easily objectified, right? So
Yes.
I would say that objectification of women in abaya is probably difficult. That is probably what this article actually says. That it is difficult to objectify women who wear abaya, and it's easier to objectify women uh, who just have consumerist, glamorized identities, right? So people can probably relate to those women more easily. I don't know. I'm randomly thinking. I'm thinking loud. So I was just trying to understand the character you have mentioned, and you said that she has quite an insignificant role. The film is probably commenting on Muslim women at large, or women in abaya at large, that at present they probably are as insignificant as is the character, as is Safina in Gully Boy, right? So, despite having an important role, despite having received award for the film, I think her character probably truly represents many women who appear in this kind of, who have this type of appearance, right? So
Right.
I wonder, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, yes, I understand.
Okay.
But Miss, if I were to respond to what you said about the significance of the insignificant, um, well, they could have done that. They could have acknowledged that character and brought it to light without just appreciate it in the category that it belongs in. It's not a lead character. They gave the award to her for lead actress when they could have easily given it to her in the category of a supporting actress, right?
No,
So
but
the idea behind
you
it,
are, this is what I understood from your explanations, that despite you having said that she is not the lead, she appears like a lead. I think she is the lead because she is the only one there with this guy, Murad. You did not say that there is another female that Murad marries, or another male that Safina finds, right? So if the story revolves around Murad and Safina, she will remain the lead,
but
despite
right.
despite being insignificant. So her,
Okay.
I had this feeling that her significance is in being insignificant, and if the film gives her any more role, any more role, it will become an everyday film in which the protagonist uh, becomes the star in the end, right? Most films are clearly showing what happens to protagonist. Most films are happy ending films. Some films are sad ending films. For example, Jambaz uh, was a film in which I think Anil Kapoor and Dimple Kapadia performed as protagonists. But in the last scene, Anil Kapoor dies, and it was a super, super, super hit films of all times. So I think that audience actually cried when male protagonist died at the end of the film, and Dimple was left behind. uh, you know so most films are happy ending films. Some films like Jambaz are not happy ending films, but all films resolve somewhere where the protagonist achieves something. And in this case, I somehow have this feeling that they wanted to highlight insignificance and non-achievement of all these women, of many of these women who do nothing, or who are unable to do anything in their lives.
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't seen the film. I can be wrong. I think I will try watching the film just to understand what you are discussing, and perhaps sounds like a story of perhaps all women, especially women in abaya.
Oh,
I
well, the
don't know.
movie is
I
very
don't know.
interesting. Yes, I think I would really recommend it because it is pretty commendable for a lot of the good things that it did to kind of break stereotypes. And it was refreshing to see a character like this, despite some of the flaws. It was pretty refreshing.
Okay, okay, all right, great. Okay, let me mark attendance first. Any comment, Binish, Dania, Jahangir? I think You can disagree with what I have said, or you can agree with what any of us has said. I think it was myself and Aerass discussing, and we were talking about social life. I think it's a comment on social life. It's a comment on also university life, because youth is different from my age, right? Uh, I am giving this as an example because things change. You become different at my age, and you are different at your age, because uh, youth and university life has its own set of pressures. And the no comment.
Yes, I can't really comment because I haven't seen the film, but yeah. But I really like Aerass's argument.
Okay, is it not showing the slot again? Same was the problem yesterday, and I told them yesterday to add. Just hold on a minute. Uh, Let me quickly write an email so they add attendance slots for today. Um, uh, I'm sorry, I must have checked it, or at the start of the class we had same problem yesterday, um, and they take a little time to add the slots. Ji, Dania, I understand that you're not familiar with the story of the film, but you can definitely comment on the connection between hijab or hijab in mainstream media, and being as you live in Lahore, you would probably know that women in Lahore wear some of them wear hijab and some don't.
Yeah.
Gigi, no comment. Okay, I think Benish has presented, right? And
Yes, miss, I have presented.
yes. So Benish, do you have any comment?
Miss, I just thought the presentation was very nice, and I don't really have a comment. But yeah, the presentation was really nice. It was well
So,
executed.
do you agree with whatever Aerass has said? And if you agree with those, how would you elaborate on it?
Miss, I think the hijab is like, for example, like it's seen as a form of oppression to like the Western to the Western media and everything. And but I think over here it's a matter of choice, like who wants to take it and who doesn't. So
What
I think
about
I agree with.
Safina? Because she says that Safina appears. I think she appears like a bully in many cases, because she's fighting
Yes.
and she's jealous and she's loud. So, nobody, I haven't commented on that. So I think, do you have any comment on Muslim women being bullies? Like bullies are hiding behind abaya. I think in one of the clips we did see when we were viewing this documentary about Edward Said, and there were two women from Iran who was shouting like hell in that clip. I think that was from some kind of protest, and the women looked really violent and aggressive in that particular clip. And if in a commercial film, Safina is showed as violent and aggressive woman, so I think all these images are somehow showing that these women can be very aggressive, or they are aggressive or violent or outspoken, and perhaps not very passive as such. Ji Binish.
Miss, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know about much of the character as such. But I think, yes, it could be that since her actions were like that, so maybe she could have been a bully. Like we've seen, as Aerass was telling us, that she fought with another girl because she thought that she was messaging her partner or whatever. So I think that maybe she had a violent streak in her or something like that.
Okay. All right. So I wasn't talking about just one. So Safina is one because she is in this film that Aerass has discussed. I mentioned another woman. I will try showing you the image from here. Edward Said on Orientalism. If you can recall, uh, were you both present when we were watching this film?
Yes, miss, I was present.
And do you recall which image I am talking about?
Miss, I don't know. I think maybe I don't remember. No, miss.
Yeah, I am not sure exactly where it was, but there was there was an image of two women in abaya during the protest, and they were very violent and very aggressive, though one of them was also carrying a baby. So I thought that was a very aggressive women, very aggressive image of Muslim women. So that's why I'm just trying to see that these images are actually showing women as violent and aggressive. I'm not sure exactly where this image was, but this was somewhere in this documentary, perhaps where you see, I think, uh, Imam Khomeini from Iran. So can't recall exactly where. I think it would be difficult, but if you watch this film, you'll probably find the lady. Two women in abaya, and they are very violent and aggressive during a protest, shouting badly. Gee, okay, all right, okay. Thank you, Aerass. It was a nice presentation, and I think very thought-provoking. Also, because did you write your midterm paper on this?
Yes, miss, I wrote it on this.
And would you be writing your final on this as well?
Miss, I'm thinking I might do it. I think I want to, after this discussion, I feel like I want to watch the movie again and maybe find out if I see it differently this time.
Okay.
So I'm not.
So I would suggest that if you think about writing your final paper on this, just add some descriptions of the scenes, add a couple of dialogues, some dialogues from the film in your discussion, because those dialogues will be thought-provoking, and they will help in developing the argument further. I also suggest that try quoting from these two articles that I showed you and are there in Google Classroom. I think it would be interesting to add Marjan's Therapi and Daphna Lamish. I think the other was by perhaps Daphna Lamish. So you can actually try seeing how these two women are commenting on abaya and how Muslim women are relating to it, right? So I'm just trying to see if the other article was by Daphna Lamish. No, it was by Suzanne Kanso, right? So try looking at Suzanne Kanso's article and Marjan Strapi's article and just try see if there is anything that you can add in the discussion from these two articles.
Okay.
And from anywhere else, because you are not primarily talking about abaya, you are talking more about the character, but abaya is part of the character, so you can add a few different thoughts from this discussion as well and develop. Okay. All right, thank you. So Dania will have your presentation now. And Jahangir, आपसे मैं ये कहना चाह रही थी कि I think it was not in this class. It was in this class you presented on emotions, right? आपकी वो दूसरी presentation थी in women and media that I felt के incompletely record हुई. So we can talk about it separately. ठीक है?
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam. So, which play or film have you selected?
Miss, I did it on my midterm, and I did the question B of the midterm, so I wrote my own script.
Okay. So you wrote a script. All right.
Yeah.
तो आप कौन से department में हैं?
Theater, film, and television.
अच्छा, TFT में हैं. And which theory was it?
It's part B of it. उसके ऊपर था boys, girls, and their media experiences. But I also added emotions to it.
Okay, so you have mixed two theories.
Yes.
Okay,
Should I present?
just hold on a minute. I think it would be nice that everybody hears the script. So you said it is you have used the first two, identity and emotions.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Let's go to identity. So have you picked up scenes from here?
Yeah, Miss. When you go down, there's the representation of gay and transgenders, and that's.
I think that's the last page.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, that's what I chose to base it on. But I used a few points of the boys' portrayal in media as well.
Okay, so you.
I took a few. Basically, I based it on one line, the one that spoke to me the most, and I tried to create a script around that.
Let's see, because the original task was to convert the whole theory into a script, which doesn't mean that if the paper is of 15 pages, you write 90 minutes play. No, not at all. But if you look at this first one, what shapes myself, I think there are many situations here that can become situations, right?
Yes,
For example, this one, a child is drawing, like he's trying to represent self and he ends up representing actual self. And when, for example, he brings the drawing to the teacher sees that he is wearing the same dress that the character in the drawing is wearing, right? Then when you go to the next one, here a kid is drawing flag inside his body, right? So there are plenty of things here that can be changed into visuals, or here in the middle you can see there is a confused child who doesn't know anything about his sexual identity. I think that's a girl. She says, I don't know, I don't know. She keeps on saying. So I think these are interesting little comments that can become a very interesting part of script, right? Because there's a whole activity going on here. So let's see how you did this one. Because it's talking about gay and it is also talking about boys and girls. So do you have boys and girls also, or you also have you only have gay in your script?
There are boys and girls. It's basically about this boy and his family, and he's basically how in a very conservative society. It's gay environment.
Okay.
So
All
it has
right.
emotions as well, like love, anger, shame, fear, and it has a trigger warning as well for suicide.
Okay. Dania did not write an essay. She opted for the second option and she has written a script for this class. I'm not sure that if she will be doing her final exam in script form as well, but I think her options are open. But let's listen to her
Yeah,
midterm.
I won't do it on. I won't write a script for my final. Is my voice clear? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. There is some clarity issue. You are loud, but is your throat right? Is your throat okay?
No, miss, I actually have a throat infection, so I can't really speak that loud.
All right. Okay. Let's. Binish and Jahangir, can you understand what she's saying?
Yes, miss, I can
Yes,
somewhat
ma'am.
understand.
Okay. So Dania, is your script in Urdu or English?
Miss, it's in English. I wrote it. Yeah, it's in English.
Okay. Okay. So please, I would suggest that because you're reading the script, so make sure that we understand the characters and we clearly understand. So I would say don't go very fast. Don't go too fast. So we should understand the story that you are uh, going to read right now. Okay.
Miss, I wasn't going to read the script. I can read it if you want me to, but I wrote a plot for it. I've written. Wait, I can share my screen for you.
Yes, I would say that share your screen. Have you also uploaded it in Google Classroom?
Yeah, can you see? Can you see?
Yes, I would say that you read this and you also read your script so we understand what you have. If you have written script, we should understand your script, right? So you can
Okay,
you can
okay,
you
I
can
can read the
discuss.
plot
Yes, you can
and then I
discuss
can.
this. Yes, so you can decide if you are reading script before this one or you are reading this before the script. It's fine either way.
Okay, miss, I'll read this before the script. So that's fine.
Okay, that sounds good, Ji.
Okay, so the artist I chose question B for my presentation for my midterm, and I wrote a script that's inspired by boys, girls, and their media experiences as well as emotions. And the title of the script is The Art of Scraping Through, which means the ability to survive something but with difficulty. So the plot of my script is basically it revolves around a family in Pakistan that includes Mikhail, Eliza, Osama, and their parents. It starts off with Eliza and Osama anxiously waiting for Mikhail to come home after sneaking out at night with his friends. When he finally arrives, we see him in a drunken state, and as Eliza tries to hide him, they're caught by their parents. The father gets more than an answer when he confronts Mikhail. Mikhail, in his drunken state, comes out to his family. While he's talking, he's told to sleep it off as if he's talking nonsense, but he refuses to stay silent anymore. I'm sorry, miss. Let me just use this.
Okay, so did everyone understand the plot? I would suggest go a bit slower because I was also reading while you were talking. Uh, because I think it really helped. I understood your words also, but the text helped because I think we need this little help because of your throat issue. Ji.
Okay. Should I start again?
No, it's okay. I was asking if everyone understood the plot. So Binish and Jahangir, did you understand the plot?
Yes, miss, I did.
Okay, good. Ji.
There's more, miss. So after Mikhail comes out to his family, the father reacts in a negative way. Lisa takes Mikhail upstairs to her room, and there they have a heart-to-heart conversation until Mikhail falls asleep. Lisa heads downstairs to her parents and Osama in the TV lounge, where the father angrily scolds the mother and the rest of the family. Furthermore, as he rants, a loud noise is heard from upstairs, and Lisa rushes to check where the sound is coming from. She finds Mikhail hanging from the ceiling fan and calls out for help. Mikhail is rushed to the hospital. After he comes back home from the hospital, we see Mikhail asking Lisa a question that rattles her bones. So this is the plot. Did you guys can hear me?
Yes, we can. I'm just trying to understand why this hospital scene is added, but it's okay. I think when you read this the script, we'll understand it better. Ji.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about how boys, girls, and the media experiences inspired the art of scraping through. So as I said before, the art of scraping through is basically the ability to survive, but with great difficulty. So this whole idea for the script is just about survival and struggling. So and this is what we see in the idea for the art of scraping through came from gay and transgender identities, mostly unacceptable in boys, girls, and their media experiences by Daphne Lamish. The second point, the popular images of the hyper-feminized gay man and the butch gay woman are a direct replication of gender stereotypes, as the gay identity is presented as female and the lesbian one as masculine. So this is the most important part of it. This is my basis for my this is the basis for my script, because usually how we see gay men in the media is we see them in a very feminine way. They're either the gay best friend or an artist or a designer or someone like that. But so to challenge this, to break the stereotypes, I presented Mikhail as a boxer, and he comes home, and this can be seen when they have a conversation. When we read the script later, Elise and Mikhail have a conversation when Elise asks Mikhail, when Mikhail comes out to them, and Mikhail says, "Okay, I'm tired of pretending to be someone I'm not." And Elisa says, "Oh, so is boxing? Were you boxing? Was boxing a part of pretending as well?" And he says, "No, I love boxing." And she says, "Oh, but aren't you gay?" And he says, "It doesn't make me less gay to be a boxer. It's just what society feeds you. There's no box you need to fit into. There's no certain way of being gay. You're gay. It doesn't matter if you're feminine or masculine. It doesn't define you." So this is the basis for my script. The next point is the absence of diverse alternative models and perspectives in mainstream media. So we see two perspectives in this script. We see the perspective of Mikhail, who's coming out to his family, and then we see the perspective of his family, who's very conservative. Not very conservative, but they are conservative, and they're in Pakistan. So that's the perspective that I wanted to show. The last point of boys, girls, and their media experiences in the art of scraping through is trying to live up to expectations of traditional, stereotypical masculine behavior of toughness, emotional disconnection, and aggression so prevalent in male role models in the media. So this can be seen through, I try to show this to the father of Mikal, because when Mikal comes out, you see the father's response is very, in a very masculine way. He aggressively denies basically everything. He tells him to sleep it off or to get out of his face, and then it's a very and then when he comes out and the father talks to the rest of the family later, when Mikal falls asleep, we see him blaming the mother and saying, I've built this reputation for my family. What will happen to this family if what will happen to my reputation if people find out that my son is gay? And so that shows a part of in a certain way, it shows the toxic masculinity, since he's blaming the mother for raising the child like that, while he is also, when he used to tell his friends and all that, oh, my son's a boxer and all, then he would take credit, but now for this he's blaming it on the mother. So that also shows, like I said, toxic masculinity. But I also challenged this later when Mikhail is at the hospital and we see the father crying. And in this article, in this paper that we read, it talks about how, men aren't supposed to cry. They're not supposed to show emotion. That's what the media says. So I try to challenge this as well when it's the father who's crying when the son's at the hospital. And even though he was acting all masculine before, and later when Mikhail comes home, it's usually the role of the mother. It's like by society, the mother who comes and checks and sees if they need food or anything. But when Mikhail comes home, it's the father saying, I've made your favorite food, I'll bring it when it's ready. And however, at the same time, we see the emotional disconnection when Mikhail says, I have to talk to you about what happened, and the father refuses to talk about it. So it's basically balancing both the masculinity as well as it's balancing what society expects men to be like and what men are like at the same time. So that's boys, girls, and their media experiences in the art of scripting. Furthermore, I used emotions in the art of scraping too. There are 4 emotions there are a lot of emotions in the script, but the prominent ones are love, anger, shame, and fear. So love is portrayed in different ways. There are different types of love. Like there's, for example, there's romantic love, then there's love between a brother and a sister, and the one between a father and son. So we see here it says, when love is disappointed, when the boundaries that we open and expand are rejected, then this is painful. So we see this when Carl comes out and he says, oh, I'm in love with the guy, and father rejects it. When he comes out, the father, everyone, the father, the mother, they shut him down and they say, sleep it off, you're drunk, you don't know what you're talking about. When so this is painful to be judged, to be rejected for just loving someone. So I try to show that, and then you see the love between the brother and the sister, how the sister accepts the brother, and how the sister takes care of him and runs to save him. And then you see the relationship between the father and the son, the love between the father and the son. In a way, it's kind of twisted because you see the father being aggressive, but when and angry, but when the son is at the hospital, you see him running. Like even though he's angry, you see him when he sees the son hanging from the ceiling, he wants to save him. And then when he backs later when he comes back from the hospital, he puts his hand on his son's head, and he like saying, "I made food for you," is a form of love for him. It's a gesture of love. So that's how love is portrayed in the art of scraping through. And anger, and there are two types of anger in this. There's this built up anger, and then there's instant anger. When Mikhail comes out to his family, and they tell him to stop talking and all, and he says, "No, let me talk." And his brother Osama is holding him back, and he looks at him and he says, "Let me go." And then he breaks free from Osama. So that is anger, but that's built. And when he says, "I know," in the script he says, "I know what you're thinking, because that is what has been going through my head all this time." And when he says, "You don't know I'm tired of being the perfect son," and he's yelling at the father, that is anger, but it's built up anger because it's what he has experienced, it's what he has suppressed for so long. So when you see the father's reaction to it, that's instant anger, because the father, when he just hears the words "I'm gay," he slaps the son. So that's how anger is portrayed in the art of scraping through. For shame, it's mostly from Mikhail, because here it says, "Shame as an injury to oneself makes one sensitive for the opinions and perceptions of others." So when Elise and Mikhail go upstairs to have the heart-to-heart conversation, Elise asks, "Oh, why didn't you tell me before?" And he says, "Because I was ashamed of who I was, and I care about what other people think of me, and I don't want to let them down. I don't like to be at odds with other people." And he says, but it's at the same time, while he's feeling guilt, he says, I was around people who made me feel like there's nothing wrong with who I am. There's no need to be ashamed of who I am. So you see shame, but then overcoming shame as well. And in our society, since we love to relate it to today's society, especially the Pakistani society, we see shame through the father's words, where he says, I've spent years building my reputation in this neighborhood and this family. What will people think of us? You know, the shame that we will go through once they find out. So that's also represented in the art of scraping through. Fear is mostly in the scene. It's the fear of, we see through the lines, through the script, we see Mikhail fears, was fearing coming out to his family. But later, through the words we see, when he comes out to his family, he says, I'm gay and I know what you're thinking, because that's the only thing that has been going through my head. So he has been thinking about what other people will think of him and what his family will think of him, and he fears that they won't accept him for who he is. So there's that fear. But then when there's also a scene in the script where when Mikhail is taken to the hospital, Lisa is sitting with him in the car, and she has his hand around his neck, holding him up, and she says to Osama, who's driving the car, he says, I can't feel his pulse. So there's that fear of losing Mikhail. So you see that as well. And when the doctors are with Mikhail, you see the fear as well. Like there's fear around everyone. And lastly, this is for suicide. It's the trigger warning. Since suicide is a very sensitive topic, here it says suicide is associated with pain and grief for the ones left behind. and should thus be referred to with appropriate honesty. So with suicide, there's two perspectives to it. There's one perspective is Mikhail's, how he has been rejected for who he is, and he doesn't feel like he's like he deserves to be here in the world. And then we see the perspective of the family, the aftermath, how we see Elisa panic, and how we see the father carry Mikhail on his shoulders to the car, and we see Elisa hold hands when the doctor says you can come in, and when Elisa when they're sitting, when Mikhail comes back home. So we see that as well, the aftermath, when Mikhail says, when the father refuses to talk about what happened, Mikhail says, why did you save me, to Elisa? And so there's that as well. It can also come in fear. So that's the after. So suicide is, there's the act of committing suicide, then there's the building up to suicide, and then there's the aftermath of attempted suicide in the script. So this is it. My conclusion is the start of this, the art of scraping through. The ability to survive something but with difficulty. So this can refer to either living in a very conservative society as a gay man, and it's to be able to survive with difficulty, of course. And it can also be interpreted as surviving a suicide attempt. So yeah, because in the end he says, why did you save me? So it could be about life as well. So yeah, that's it. That's the art of scraping through.
All right. Sounds beautiful. Very nicely presented. G, comments? I would like you to read the script, and I think it would have been nice to, it's even nice to look at it earlier, but I would like you to share the script as well. So how many pages are the script?
Yes, it's 12 pages, but is it okay if I don't read the script because my throat is written quite badly?
Okay, so how many characters are there in the script?
Mr. Mikhail, he's the main. Then there's Elisa, the sister of Mikhail. Then there's Osama, Mikhail's brother. And then there's Mikhail's father and Mikhail's mom. So it's just 5 people. And then the doctor, of course. We see the doctor.
All right, and you have uploaded it here?
Yes, I've uploaded in Google Classroom.
Let me ask
I
for.
can share this screen. Yeah.
No, I'm looking for it here. From here, and I will ask someone from class to read it for you, if that is okay.
I can read it then. It's fine. So like I can read it with expressions as well.
Are you sure? Because I think somebody could read it for you. I'm not. Jahangir is from Theatre, Film and TV, and we also have, I think Binish speaks very loud and clear. And I think Komal is also here right now, so they can help you, or they can read. If not all of them, you can ask them to read dialogues of certain characters. It will divide your load. Is that okay, or whatever way you feel comfortable?
Whatever suits you. Whatever suits you. I'm fine with anything.
I'm still. They haven't yet uploaded. I asked them to, even yesterday they took a bit of time. I think the time for first slot has ended, and yesterday they added two slots very late, and we could only mark attendance of one and had to request them for marking attendance of the first slot. If you are sure you can comfortably read it, you read it yourself, or I will ask your classmates to read it for you, or read, for example, we can ask Jahangir to read Osama's dialogues, and we can ask Binish to read Elise's dialogues, and someone else can read Father's dialogues, and you can decide, you can decide who you would like to read, or
Sure, miss. I don't mind anything. But I can read it if you want me to. I can read it myself.
All right, okay, please. So I do want to know everyone is okay. We read this article with this this exam. Elisa, it would be nice to read it all. Ji.
Miss, should I screen share myself? Because I have the script.
You can screen share yourself, definitely. There was okay. Jahangir dropped out. Let me. I'll check attendance after a few minutes. Ji, Dania, you can share screen.
Yes, miss.
जी दिनेश, आपके कोई comments हैं अभी तक की presentation पे while she is sharing screen?
Miss Ijaz, I think I really like the story and the idea of the coming out and everything. I really like that. I enjoyed it, and that's about it. I don't really have any other comments.
Yes, what I like that Dania had not only written a script for the exam, but she had also tried to theoretically connect it with the concepts we discussed in two different courses, in two different class meetings. In one we discussed identity, and in the other we discussed emotions, and she was trying to connect her script to both of these readings in details, and I thought she had nicely done it. Ji, Dania, please read the script.
Yes, that's fine.
Please share it because it helps in understanding. I said we are listening to you, and we are reading simultaneously. Ji.
Okay, ma'am.
Komal, I didn't ask you because you joined late. I thought you had not actually seen the presentation. So
yes, ma'am. It's okay.
Let's listen to the script and then you can comment.
Sure, ma'am.
आप इसको थोड़ा सा बड़ा कर लें, दानिया.
Is this fine?
Yes, it is fine. जी.
Okay. So, scene 1. Elisa knocking at Osama's door. Is my voice open? Can you hear me?
Ji, we can.
Elisa knocking at Osama's door. Osama, open the door. Osama, go away, I'm sleeping. Elisa, make sure not to speak too loud. Osama, it's about Mikhail. Can you open up, please? Footsteps of Osama get closer till the door creaks open. What is it? Mikhail snuck out at night and told me he'd be home by 5 a.m. It's 7 a.m. and he's still not here. I'm worried. You let him sneak out? I didn't. I told him to ask you and he said you were fine with it. He never talked to me. He looks around. I'm worried he's not even picking up his phone. What if mom and dad find out? Wait for an hour. If he doesn't come back by 8 a.m., we'll have to tell mom and dad ourselves. Please, I don't know what to do. What if something happened to him? Don't worry, I'll try calling him. Just wait for an hour. Elisa goes into Osama's room and crashes onto his bed, and they both lie there anxiously. Osama tries to call Mikhail, but there is no response. After an hour, Osama, it's 8:05, Elisa. Go tell mom and dad. Can't you do it? I don't want to do it. No, you do it. Just go and tell them. It'll be fine. Think about Mikhail. Elisa hesitantly walks towards the door of the room and then goes downstairs. She sees her dad sitting in the TV lounge and tries to gather up the courage to tell him that his son has been missing since 11 p.m. last night. She opens the door but suddenly turns back as she sees Mikhail stumbling through the kitchen door. Insane. Scene 2. Elise rushes to grab him and hide him before the parents find Mikhail leaking of alcohol. As she grabs him, Dad comes out of the TV lounge and also notices the smell. He moves closer and smells Mikhail. What is this? Mikhail mumbles. What? Look at me. Where were you? As Dad raises his voice, Mom walks out of her room. Osama follows. What's going on? She looks at Elise and then at Mikhail. Mikhail cannot seem to stand straight. Dad, are you drunk? Yes, yes I am. And you know what else I am? I am gay. 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 Dad slaps Mikhail and he falls to the floor. Osama and Elise run to help him. Mom, he's not in his senses. He doesn't know what he's saying. Leave him. With the help of Elise and Osama, Mikhail gets up. Mikhail, no. I know what I'm saying and I know what you are thinking, using hand gestures. How can this be my perfect son, with the perfect grades, with the perfect medals, are tried, huh? You think I can't see through you? I know every thought that is in your head right now because that's all I've been thinking about since I got back from Boston. But I cannot do it anymore. I cannot pretend to be someone I'm not. I can't fit into your perfect son box anymore. Osama tries to hold him back. Mikhail, stop talking, speak it off. No, let me speak. And looking at Osama, and let me go, breaks free. This may as well be my last chance to speak. I am gay, and I know you don't accept that because we live in Pakistan, but I cannot pretend to be straight and talk to you about marriage when I am in love with a guy. Dad, get out of my face right now. You're a disgrace. Lisa grabs Mikhail and goes upstairs to her room. Dad's still shouting, but it fades away as they move upstairs. Scene 3. Lisa, why did you have to do that right now? Putting Mikhail on her bed. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a better time to come out to my clearly homophobic family? No, I didn't mean it like that. I meant, Mikhail, I'm gay. It feels so good to say it, Elisa. I'm gay. Mikhail holds her hand and Elisa sits down. Elisa, since when? Since I was born? What kind of question is that? No, I meant, when did you realize that you were, gay? Mikhail, when I was 16, now I'm 22. It's been 6 years, Elisa. 6 years of acting like the perfect son. Doing well in boxing, winning medals, and getting the perfect grades only to hide this part of me, of myself that I cannot avoid at all. Please, 6 years? I'm sorry that you had to carry this secret for so long. You could have told me. I thought we were close. God, I wanted to. I felt like if I said anything out loud, it would make it all real. And I didn't want it to be real. I don't like to be at odds with anyone. You know that, don't you? Lisa nods. Because I always tried to please everyone. I guess I was ashamed of who I was, but being in Boston with people who understood me made me realize that I don't have to be. It's who I am. Were you also pretending with boxing to hide who you are? No, I love boxing, and it doesn't make me less gay if I still box. It's what society feeds you, Lisa. You need to get out of this mindset that you have to be a certain way to be gay or to be straight or to be bisexual or to be anything. Slowly dozing off. You don't have to fit into anything. Nothing matters. Or what your parents tell you to fit into. If you feel trapped like I do, then you fall asleep. CNN. Scene 4. Elisa leaves the room and goes downstairs to her parents in a sauna. Elisa opens the door. Everyone is silent. Mom, did you know this, Elisa? Wiping away her tears. No, I didn't. Dad and Mom, it's all your fault. It's because of you that he's turned out to be like this. Mom, Dad, can you not? It's nobody's fault. Dad, shut up. Did I talk to you? You're all good for nothing. Can't believe this is the family I get after working hard day and night trying to feed them and give them good education. This is what I get. Coughs and shakes head in denial. Who knows where he was all night or who he was with? Where is he right now? He's asleep. Asleep, my foot. How dare he fall asleep after pulling a stunt like this? Calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Are you even thinking of the consequences? Do you know how quickly things will change once people find out? Do you know what they will think of us? I spent all my time building my reputation in this neighborhood and my family. How will we show our faces in public after this? God knows who knows about this. Loud thud is heard. Sama, what is that? What was that? Mom, it came from upstairs. Elisa, go check. Elisa rushes upstairs and tries to open her room door, but it's blocked by a sofa. Elisa pushes through and finds Mikhail. Trigger warning. It contains suicide. So if you're not comfortable with suicide, just sorry. So Elisa pushes through and finds Mikhail with clothes tied together hanging from the fan and around his neck. She musters up the courage to hold him and screams, "Mama, Mama!" You can hear several footsteps coming up the stairs. Dad is the first one to enter. When he sees Mikhail on Elisa's shoulders, he runs and hugs her. Osama follows and frees Mikhail from the noose around his neck. Mom is at the door, shaking. Elisa panicking. Take him to a hospital. Take him to a hospital. What are you guys doing? Hurry. Dad, calm down, Lisa. It's okay. Dad folds Mikhail on his shoulders and heads downstairs towards the car. Osama starts the car. Dad puts Mikhail in the car and Elisa jumps in. Elisa, stay here. I'll go. No, I'm not leaving him. Shaking. What about Mama? Stay with her. No, I'm not leaving him. Osama drives. His dad is in the front seat. Elisa holds Mikhail in the back seat, and Mom is at the gate watching them leave. Scene 5. Elisa holds Mikhail's head up. He's not awake. She puts her hand on his neck and cannot feel his pulse. She gathers up the courage to speak. I can't feel his pulse. I can't feel his pulse. He's not breathing. Osama, he's not breathing. Dad, it's okay. We're almost there. He's fine. He's okay. Osama rushes through traffic with hazard lights. They reach the hospital. Mikhail is taken on a stretcher inside the emergency room. Doctors surround Mikhail as Elisa holds on to Osama. Osama stays strong while Dad sheds a tear. We wait for 20 minutes. Dad paces around. Osama keeps looking for the doctor. When the doctor comes out. Doctor, he's okay. You can come in to see him. Elisa rushes inside and holds Mikhail's hand. Mikhail opens his eyes and tears roll down his face. Elisa's eyes are filled with tears that won't come out. End scene. Scene 6. Mikhail's back home and on his bed. Elisa and Osama are sitting next to him. Dad walks in and Mikhail tries to sit up. No, keep laying down. It's okay. I just wanted to check up on you. Dad moves closer and puts his hand on Mikhail's head. I'm making your favorite biryani. I'll bring it once it's cooked. Dad, yes. Can we talk about yesterday? What's done is done. No point in talking about it. Get some rest. No, but Dad, I want to talk about it. I want you to be fine with me being. I'll send food once it's cooked. Walks out the door. Lisa and Osama look at each other. Osama gets up. Osama, don't worry. He'll come around. I'll go talk to him. He nods and leaves. Lisa sits in silence, holding on to Mikhail's hand. Mikhail takes a deep breath. Why did you save me? Elisa looks at Mikhail and loosens her grip on Mikhail's hand. Confused, wondering whether she should have left him for dead and ended the torture that he was living in, instead of saving him and keep him here stuck in the stuff that he did not like. End scene. That's it, miss.
Is that the end?
Yeah, miss, because it reached the word limit.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So right now, where do we end? Just leave the ending here. Just that she's confused. That's where it ends, right? So she's confused about what he's saying. All right. The word limit is about, the lower word limit. You can definitely develop it further. There is no upper end limit and there is no negative marking for the upper end limit. All right, I think this description of scenes actually make it clear what we were discussing earlier. And I think while we were reading, when you went through presentation, the PowerPoint presentation was really nice. But reading the script makes it clearer, because when you were giving the presentation, I thought he had died. but the script is telling me that he actually survives. So this point onwards, I think there would be changes in his life, because we still don't know how father would behave after he feels better,
Yeah,
because
I just wanted to show. Sorry.
yeah.
I just wanted to show that even like when the father saw his son almost die, like for not accepting who he was, you think that in the end, like if he survives, he would accept him, but in the end, he just shows that emotional disconnection that we talked about, where he doesn't talk about it. Like here, when he says, "I want you to be fine with it, with me being," and he just cuts him off and he says, "I'll send food once it's cooked," and walks out the door. So like here, when he walks in, he says, "I'm making," like he walks in and puts his hand on Miguel's head. So like he's saying, "Oh, like he's affectionate towards him," but at the same time, he's not really accepting him. So that's what I wanted to show with him surviving the suicide.
Right. Okay, because there is another factor, which is what will people say factor. Because father is, you said they are living in Boston in this one. They're not living in Pakistan. It's a Pakistani family living in Boston, is it?
No, miss, they're a Pakistani. They're in Pakistan, but the son studies in Boston, and he came to Pakistan on his summer break.
Oh, all right. So he is visiting, right?
Yeah.
So yes, then it leaves a question that why is he committing suicide? Because he will be going back to Boston to complete his studies, and there is an option to live there. So why is he committing suicide then?
It's about not being accepted by his family, the people he grew up with, not accepting him for who he is. Because
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah,
I think that's more important. Sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. I'm just trying to understand even still, because if he was solely living in Pakistan, if he had no experience of living in Boston, perhaps suicide will make more sense when people around him do not accept him or accuse him for being what he is. Right now, I'm just discussing. Please don't take it as negative criticism, because I'm trying to understand what is happening. He's living in Pakistan. He's living in Pakistan, and he returns to home drunk. He is 22, and he is a gay since he was 16, right? That is what you said. So he probably, did he go abroad when he was 16, or did he go abroad 1 or 2 years ago? And
No, that's for university. That's like at 19 or 18, 19, 18.
so you are right now thinking that your character went abroad when he was 19. So he's been in Boston since 2 years or so, right? And so I would assume that if he went there in 2019, he was still an undergrad student in Boston. So are you thinking that your character is in US for graduate studies?
No, he's for undergraduate.
So, okay, so he is still an undergrad student. So undergrad life is definitely different from grad life. Grad life, despite that both pressurize students to do a lot of work, but grad students are different in terms of behavior. So I'm just trying to understand that at 22, he is sneaking out of the house and re-entering house through perhaps kitchen window, or maybe Alize lets him leave.
Yeah, kitchen dormers.
Right. So he leaves from main door, or he enters back from the kitchen. So, or he uses the kitchen window both the times.
No, he leaves from the kitchen door and he comes back from the kitchen door as well.
Okay. So kitchen has a door. It's not a window.
Mm.
Okay, so that sounds fine, but I was wondering that at 22, he's sneaking out of the house. That sounds like, that his family is very conventional and perhaps very strict, because at 22, he should perhaps freely go out, then go out
Yeah.
with so much difficulty. I'm just trying to understand situations, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Right. So he's not leaving from the main door. He sneaks out from the kitchen door and he re-enters from the kitchen door, and he's also drunk when he returns. So apparently,
Yeah.
it's not just homosexuality. It's also it's all also alcohol consumption, which is perhaps which his family does not talk about alcohol consumption. His father does ask him, I think, that you are drunk, and he's trying to sniff because he smells him, right? And while he is drunk, nobody is talking about that you are drunk, tumne sharab pi hai, because he immediately starts talking about I am gay, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like that he wanted to announce because he is drunk, or because he normally does not. He had not announced in past 6 years, because in past 6 years he was not probably drunk before his family, right? So this is first time he is drunk in front of his family, and in that state of mind, probably alcohol helps him speak about his sexual orientations, right?
Yeah.
Is it so?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that leaves another question. Would he be thinking about, when if you are developing this script this point onwards? I'm just wondering how your characters will further develop, and would he keep thinking about it that he told this to his family because he was drunk, or would he discuss them, if he would feel that okay, thanks, at least because of drinking he has told his family about it, because normally he will not have the courage to talk about it, right? And he would not have courage also because he cares about them, right? He cares about them. He knows that if his family learns about his sexual orientations, it would perhaps be, his father would be so disappointed that or hurt, right? So he doesn't want to hurt them, and or he doesn't want his father to commit suicide, for example, depending again on the character, if he would commit suicide if his son comes out as homosexual, because Pakistani families can have different reactions to the situation, right? And then again, it would depend on emotional behavior of the students, of the characters, not students. Sorry, Aerass, I would like you to comment on the characters and their behavior. Can you comment on the characters and their behavior? Aerass is not here, so Beanish, or Komal, ji.
Miss, may I speak?
Ji, please.
Gee, I was just going to say that I really like the idea that is it Dania, right?
Ji, Dania.
The Dania has picked up script writing, which is very courageous. I was afraid of doing this because I was not sure कि मैं कर सकूंगी या नहीं. And I think that's brilliant, Dania.
Thank you.
Okay, let's.
Comment just
Gee,
something.
sorry, ma'am, I had somebody on the door.
Ji,
Can I
please.
speak?
Ji, please.
Ji, I was just going to say that when you said कि जो character है, why is he coming out? क्योंकि उसने तो वापस चले जाना है. तो you know this, I was just thinking कि अगर ये वाला conversation आप normal कर दें, कि why do you have to always find a hideout? कि बाहर के मुल्क में जाएंगे और आप छुप जाएंगे. I think this is what the character is trying to do, that break this hideout scene from Pakistan, and the parents need to accept it, which the character is trying to do. और वो drunk है इसलिए बाहर आई, ये तो एक factor है ही, but still I think वो इतना suffocate कर गया कि he's finally speaking out. So I really like this idea that the character is coming out like that. वो drunk भी एक factor ही है, लेकिन the character is trying to do is to just break that cycle of silence, which I really like.
Okay. Right. All right.
I would like to add on to that. You see the how he says in Boston. So I was trying to have a contrast between his life in Boston and his life in Pakistan. How the people who basically was supposed to be his home make him feel like an outcast, while the people he just met about like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they make him feel more accepted and gave him the courage to be himself. When for the past 2 years that he lived in Pakistan, he couldn't come out to his family. And then they say, and notice how the father says, I work so hard to feed them and give them the education, but he doesn't talk about is the emotional support that is needed, basically.
Right. Okay. So that is probably helping his father develop, because son's achievement is also the father's achievement in a way, because his son's achievements help, give him a better face in society, that his son is performing so wonderfully, getting best grades. And not only he's getting best grades, he's also a boxer, and a successful boxer. So it means that he's doing very well everywhere. He's doing well in education and sports. So father takes pride in all those things, and he has difficulty coping with this new image of his son, which is both drinking and coming out as a gay man, right? So yeah.
And I like I said before, when I was giving my presentation, that when the dad blames the mother for the son being gay, but takes credit for him being successful. So that does, like we read in the article, the research paper, that that does have toxic masculinity, basically written all over it as well.
All right. I think yes. So you're saying that father likes to take credit for his achievements, and he cannot cope with the rest of the things. Yes, I think that he is not talking about emotional support of his son, as you have mentioned. He is talking about his own hard work to feed his children and to pay for their education. And he has not considered that he perhaps need a closer relationship with his son, because if he had that closer relationship with his children, he would know that his son is different. And still, I still have that. I think because there is only one situation at present, and that situation concerns the suicide attempt of a drunk son, because I think it's the scenes are constantly developing from this point when Alize starts talking to Osama that Mikhail is missing, and Mikhail was supposed to come back at 7 in the morning, and it's getting late and late, and he's not coming. Uh, if he says that in Boston he met people like himself, and that's how he learned that he had different sexual orientations. I'm still wondering that if he had somebody back in Boston, why is he staying late at night in Pakistan? Because that would imply that he has a relationship in Boston, and he also has a relationship in Pakistan, because he is staying out for whole night. He leaves around 11 at night and returns around, he returns after 12, 13 hours. That is long time.
He returns at 8 a.m. and he's it doesn't really point towards a relationship here in Pakistan. It's I wrote it in the script as well. He's out with his friends, so it's there's this
right. So
Pakistan
right
of partying as well. So he was out partying all night. Yeah.
I agree that you never said that he was out to have a relationship with someone. He is out with friends, and he is spending night with his friends. So why couldn't he tell his family that I'll be out with my friends? If he's visiting Pakistan, he could probably tell them that I will be out for night and I will come back in the morning. Instead, he sneaks out and returns to home drunk in the morning and announces he's coming out as well. So why can't he tell them that I am going to be out with my friends for the whole night?
Because it's like I mentioned in the script, it's a very conservative family.
Okay.
Like in my presentation as well.
Okay. Dania, your presentation was excellent. It was very well connected with the different readings. I'm just trying to understand the characters and situations in your script. And because you did say that it's a conservative family, but it's a son we are talking about. We are not talking about Alize staying out for the night or Alize sneaking out. We are talking about a Pakistani male who is 22 years old, and he wants to stay out. So what kind of family is it? Are they middle class family? Are they very strict family? Apparently they have money to send their son abroad for higher studies, right? So what kind of family would that be? Do they have sufficient money, or Mikhail is work studying in US?
So you could say that they're like an upper middle class family, and because the father says how much he's worked hard to pay for so you can see his struggle from rising in the social hierarchy as well. So you see now, for like currently, since he's studying abroad, you could say that they're an upper middle class family.
Upper middle class, but very conservative, right?
Yeah.
And they will not allow their sons to leave, like they would not allow their daughters to stay out for the night.
There's like this time like after I guess 11, you can't leave the house. So that's I think the point, that even if you're like a son, or so it doesn't really have like sexism in it as much, but it has toxic masculinity in it, but it doesn't really discriminate between the daughter and the son that much. It's just like there's just a curfew of 11 p.m. Like no one's allowed after 11 p.m. outside the house.
Okay, so you said there are 5 family members: mother, father, and Osama, Mikhail, and Alize. She's the only daughter. Right, okay. All right, so just I would suggest that keep thinking about the characters, you know, and when you develop your script further, if you decide to develop it for your final exam, think about the questions that we have raised, you know, because I'm still trying to understand why he should try committing suicide when he can go back. If he is 22, he's studying in US only for past 3 years, which means he perhaps still needs to complete his undergrad education. So you need to decide if your character completed his undergrad education in 3 years and returned to Pakistan, or if your character is still studying in US and will be going back after the lockdown maybe. Because right now we are in 2020, and I think many children who were studying in US or in any other country came back home
Yeah, ma'am.
during the lockdown, and some of them may not be going back, and some of them may have left for the universities already, right? uh, and I don't know if you saw that clip. There was a Pakistani student studying at Harvard University. He was doing PhD, right? He completed his undergrad education from LUMS, I think, perhaps in the past couple of years, and he was at Harvard. And during lockdown, this PhD student committed suicide. So I
Yeah,
think
ma'am.
different things happen. Lockdown is another situation. If lockdown is not part of your script at present, please decide about dates for your setting. If you're setting, you don't have to talk about lockdown at all. I'm just talking about it because I always ask you to look at things from your position, which means that when you write period plays, for example, you decide, okay, it is going to be a 13th century setting, it's going to be a prehistoric setting, or those kind of things. So you definitely need a setting and a date for your present script as well, because that will affect decisions of the characters or movement of the characters. Why the family does not want Mikhail to leave home? Why the family is so strict that they will not allow even their boy to be to have a night out with friends, right? So these are important things. And you said that father did not have a strong relationship, emotional relationship with children. At the same time, the father is blaming the mother for making their son gay,
Yeah.
right? And father is not willing to think that it's not the mother who has not made him gay, right? And when father blames him, Usama says it's not her fault. So apparently, the younger generation in the house has a different behavior or different approach to this issue. While parents appear more conservative, Aliza is not conservative like father, because she is asking him, "मुझे बता देते," and parents are asking her to, "तुम्हें मालूम था," right? This is what you are saying. And Usama is also trying to support him. This is what I felt, that Usama
Yeah.
is perhaps in a way also trying to support him for what he is. So that makes me think that there is definitely a generation gap between parents and children are open to uh, Mikhail's coming out, while father is not. And we haven't heard a comment from mother about it, except that we see her staggering, we see her standing confused at the door. Most of the times, mothers are really noisy in Pakistani society, especially when it comes to health and life matters of their children. But right now, here we see a sister who is jumping into the car and telling her elder brother Osama, "Ki I'm not leaving him. I'm not leaving him," because she's closely attached to Mikhail, right? Uh, Mothers can be really noisy if they uh, find their son hanging from the ceiling. Ji.
Miss, here in the article there was this part as well where it says that the confront societies contradicting views on females, where it said that how women are told to study and be this be independent and all, only to fill the role of being a mother or a wife. So I wanted to show, I did not want to show that part as well. Like I wanted to show the mom and I wanted to show the father, and the father, I wanted to focus more on the father than the role of a mother, because I did not want to stereotype the mom. Because in our society, how, like you said, moms are noisy, and they care about, like, they're very loud about the health of their sons and everyone. So I did not want to show that for that reason, because I did not want to stereotype, like I did not want to stereotype the gay, the feminine gay vibe or the father as well. So yeah, that's why I didn't emphasize on the emotions of the mother, because women are more emotional. That's what everyone says. So yeah.
You're saying that you did not develop mother's character because you did not want to show her very emotional?
No, I just did not want her to fit into the stereotypical role of a Pakistani mom.
Okay, so you're talking about dad, you're not talking about mother right now. I was raising a question about mother. I wanted to understand what kind of character is mother, because I would say just write 2-3 lines at least, if not longer. Just write 2-3 lines about each of these characters that will help you develop a profile of these characters. For example, from your speech and from your presentation, I understood that there is a generation gap between children and parents. Parents are the conservative ones and children don't seem to be conservative ones, right? So when you say it's a conservative family, we are basically talking about manipulation of parents, because parents are in charge of the house, right? So you are calling a conservative family because parents are conservative, but children do not look conservative, right? So that is where this idea of generation gap comes up, that there's a generation gap between parents and children. And then you say that father tells him कि मैं तुम्हारी favorite biryani बना रहा हूँ, right? So by saying this, you have actually broken the stereotype that women cook in Pakistani families, right? Father is telling him कि तुम्हारी favorite biryani बना रहा हूँ. Father is the one जो उसके सर पे हाथ फेर रहा है, something like that. So right now, the actions of father are actually showing him as an emotional man, right? First, he was screaming कि माँ ने उसको बना दिया gay. Then he was lifting him up. जब उसको आपने कहा ना कि उसको उठाया, बाप ने उसको उठाया around his neck और लेके भाग गया, right? So thinking of a man in his 50s, he's running down the stairs, right? जबकि एक दूसरा जवान बेटा मौजूद है. Osama is the elder brother or younger brother?
Elder.
Okay, so elder brother is not lifting up the son जो कि जिसने suicide attempt किया, rather it's the father. And I would assume that father is in his 50s, and aging has an impact on people, right? On their health, on their emotional state, on their body strength, etc., right? So right now I'm seeing a man who is perhaps 50 years old. He picked up his son on his shoulders and he's running down. So he's not even seeking Osama's help. उसने उसामा की हेल्प नहीं ली ना बेटे को नीचे ले जाने के लिए, right? सीढ़ियों से नीचे लेके जाना, it's complicated, and he is running and he is taking him to the hospital. Mother is standing at the door looking at them. Mother does not apart from it that she is a bit यू नो जब उसको ब्लेम किया कि तुमने बेटे को बना दिया गे, तो वो थोड़ी सी वहां पे अपने आप को, जिसको कहते हैं ना कि क्लोजिंग योरसेल्फ, तो वो थोड़ा सा अपने आप को क्लोज कर रही है. शी इज नॉट रिएक्टिंग इवन देन. द ब्रदर इज रिएक्टिंग. दूसरा भाई कह रहा है, ही इज ट्राइंग टू प्रोटेक्ट मदर, ही इज ट्राइंग टू टेक हर साइड कि इसमें किसी का कोई कसूर नहीं है. मदर इज नॉट स्पीकिंग फॉर हर सेल्फ, राइट. तो मैं आपसे इस वजह से कह रही थी कि थोड़ा सा अगर आप कैरेक्टर प्रोफाइल लिख लेंगी, especially I would say that think about what role mother is going to play in it, because she's not even playing traditional mother role, right. She's not, it's the father who is cooking for the son. Yes, जब उसको ब्लेम किया तो वो थोड़ा सा क्लोज हो गई अपने अंदर, जिसको कहते हैं ना अपने ही अंदर सिमट जाना, बिकॉज everybody is looking at her. तो वो उसमें क्लोज हो गई. उसके बाद वो दरवाजे पे खड़ी रही. उसके बेटे ने खुदकुशी की, वो ना तो चिल्लाई ना रोई, you know. तो that's why I was, yes, so that's why I said कि मदर का जो रिएक्शन है to all these things apart from it, कि जब उसको ब्लेम किया for making their son gay, उसके अलावा मदर का रिएक्शन किसी जगह पे नहीं नजर आ रहा. She is standing at the door, she is not even rushing to the car, right. क्योंकि अलीज़े sits in the car और Usama keeps on saying कि तुम माँ के साथ ठहर जाती. And Alize is less worried about mother, and she's more worried about Mikhail, because she's very close to him and he is committing suicide. It means that perhaps Alize is getting hysterical. She is probably screaming. She's not ready to leave him. She's more disturbed. Yes, she is hysterical. She's more disturbed than anyone else. तो ये सारी चीजें हैं. यू कैन ऐड जेस्चर्स एंड रिएक्शंस ऑफ अलीजे. आई कैन सी दैट आपने अपने स्क्रिप्ट में यू आर राइटिंग स्क्रीन प्ले एंड डायलॉग साइमल्टेनियसली. तो यू कैन सर्टनली डेवलप स्क्रीन प्ले अ लिटिल फर्दर. You can do it after writing all the dialogues, right? Or while writing all the dialogues. When you finish writing your script, I would say that work on expressions and gestures and try adding something about everyone's behavior, how one is behaving. And normally,
if it exceeds the word limit, like there will be no negative marking, right?
No, there won't be any negative marking. I don't mark negatively. I prefer that you opt for concise writing, and I think right now the script looks concise, the approach looks concise, and things are happening very fast, right? So I was just saying that when he goes upstairs in his room, perhaps you need to, while he is in his room, perhaps you need to further develop characters of father and mother, because you are already focusing on them, because you hear a thud while they are talking, right? And then Alize rushes upstairs to find out what it was. So another thing that you said, that he puts sofa in front of the door, right? He could lock the door from inside. So why is he putting sofa in front of the door?
Basically, the setting of the room is not described fully, but when you enter the door, the fan, like there's a bed and then there's a fan like in the center. So to stand, like stand and jump, I guess that's why the sofa was in front of the door.
Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, just continue thinking about the questions that we raised during the presentations. Think about it, and think about, I did not mean that he has relationship. But I was trying to understand then why he would stay out for 13 hours without telling the family, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or even the family apparently allowed him to live in Boston, but then they cannot allow him to stay out for night, right? So he's living away for 3 years, but he can't stay away for the night. So that's a question. Uh, okay.
I'll
The,
add a backstory to it also.
uh, are you saying it's based on a true story or a
No, so
backstory?
I'll add a backstory to it.
Okay, okay,
Um,
all right. Just decide how you want to develop it. If at all you add flashback, uh, make sure it's just one flashback.
okay.
It can be one flashback. It is better. It's better not to have too many flashbacks in your script. And scenes are normally of about 1 minute duration, so they capture more interest if they last 1 minute, and then you change to another situation. For example, if father and mother are talking, uh, arguing in TV lounge, Usama may follow Binish in another room to find out what's happening. uh, okay, so sounds good, sounds really nice. I am happy to see that at least one student tried to write script. uh, it wasn't just script, you also tried to analyze your own script in the light of two different class readings. So that was really nice. जी एरास, एनी कमेंट? मैंने आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछा था बट यू हैड लेफ्ट. मैंने आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछा था कि हाउ वुड यू कमेंट ऑन द सोशल रिलेशनशिप्स ऑफ द कैरेक्टर्स in this script?
Miss, unfortunately, I missed her presentation. My laptop, उसकी charging का कोई issue हो रहा था.
अच्छा अच्छा, कोई बात नहीं. She was talking about what looked like to me a generation gap in a very conservative family. Father and mother can't take their son is gay, and uh, while brother
Right.
and sister have a different reaction. Nobody knew that their son will turn out gay, but he comes home, drunk one morning. And when they are asking him about alcohol consumption, he actually announces, "I am gay." And then he tries,
Right.
to commit suicide. So if you haven't heard the story, I think it perhaps would be difficult for you. Did you not attend even the theoretical part of presentation, which was the first part?
Miss, I kept like online, offline. Like मैं अपने phone से try करी थी because my laptop wasn't working, but
Okay.
I couldn't really. What movie is this? Was this based on?
No, it wasn't based on a movie. She wrote a script. I had given you two options.
Right.
I allowed
Okay.
students to either write an essay or write script. So we have one script from class, and I believe 8 will be essays.
Okay, Miss.
Okay, thank you. I'm
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm ending today's session. Okay. All right. Take care, Ji.
Take care. Yeah,